What sound is
Hot.
Huh?
Hot.
Pot. Good job, Nathan. Pot. Pot. Morning, guys. Dr. Nami here. So today I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the transition from sight reading to phonics. So the video that you just saw was my son, just after he turned 2, starting the process of reading by phonics. He had essentially been reading by sight from the time he was about 16 months until I started teaching him how to integrate phonics. Sight reading is a simple process that I've talked about in my previous videos where a child recognizes how to read a word just by sight. But just because a child can read by sight doesn't mean they know how to actually decode. Okay, so it's very important to integrate both styles of teaching when it comes to being able to get a child to read proficiently. At the same time, if a child is only decoding, oftentimes, especially at younger ages, they can quickly get frustrated and it actually decreases their comprehension. For example, if a child has to sound out all of these words, for example, I, they need to know that an I by itself is a long I. They need to know that am, They need to know that this is actually a long A and not A. They would also need to know that this is P-A-T. So a child trying to decode all of these words will eventually get through it with enough practice, okay? But at younger ages, it can be very frustrating explaining to a child that this A here is a short A and thus makes A. This A here is a long A and thus makes A, and then trying to explain that their two are different, especially for younger ages, can be somewhat challenging. So the strategy I use is to teach some of these high frequency sight words just by sight. And with the sight words process, they would know that this is the letter I, this is the word am, they would know this is A. And then I would introduce one word that they would have to phonetically decode. And in that case, that would be this word here, P-A-T, okay? And so by blending those two, you can increase the child's ability to read without increasing their frustration. Those that are anti-sight words will tell you that sight words are not important, or that you shouldn't teach sight words, you should only teach phonics. But when you really think about it, most of us read a lot of what we already know how to read by sight, and we use phonics for difficult words. For example, this word here, frog. As you saw this word, how many people needed to go frog versus understanding that this is the word frog simply because you've seen that word frog before and you automatically know it, okay? If I ask you to spell a difficult word like decipher, you might need to use phonics to break that down into segments. So both styles of reading are very important for children, and it's important to me, at least early on for young kids, not to frustrate them. And so by integrating the words that they already know how to read by sight with a few words that they need to decode, the emphasis is on the decoding of simple words that can be short and modified rather than having them decode multiple words at a time, okay? This also increases their comprehension at an earlier age. By the time a child has to decode all of this and they get to the end, they may not understand or remember what they read at the beginning. But a child that automatically knows this is I, am, a, and then has to decode pot, will read the word pot, but still remember what they read at the beginning. So this helps to increase comprehension, especially for younger kids. One of the exercises I used to do with my kids when they were younger and starting to decode is once they got this word pot, okay, then I would change one letter, then have them decode that, okay? And then they would understand this is the same ending, but the difference is the initial consonant sound, okay? Then I would change it again, okay? I am a cot. And then I would ask them, are you a cot? And if they laughed or they got to the end, they go, I'm not a cot, then it shows me that they comprehend what they're actually reading. So this is the process of going through from sight reading to introducing phonics, okay? And even with the sight words cards, you know, what I would do is take some of the sight words cards that I had, use that to form sentences. So, for example, erase this. So a child that's been reading by sight would know this is I go in. And then what I would do is shift this around and then introduce one word that we need to decode. Okay. The air. Okay. So that way my kids would take words that they already automatically knew how to read just based on sight words and start to begin the process of formulating short sentences that only required one word decoded and the rest read by sight. As time goes on, then I would decrease the number of words that were sight read and increase the number of words that were read phonetically until they got to such a point where they were so proficient with the phonics that I could introduce more words that were at a higher level, and then they would rely more on the phonics and less on the sight reading. Okay, so this is just a quick video on how to transition kids from sight reading to phonics. I think both components are very important. I think the phonics is very important, especially when it comes to spelling and decoding larger words. But especially for young kids who are getting an early start, the sight reading is a quick way for them to recognize all these words. And if you think about it, you know, kids can listen to songs and repeat most of the words in the songs. So sight reading is a form of using that same memory bank to form a repository of words that they can utilize. And then later on, as they introduce or they go into more phonics, then they can decode some of the phonics while still feeling confident that they can read. Hopefully this video helps. If this has helped, feel free to share and hit the like or subscribe button. Share with other family members. Once again, thank you guys so much for the support and for following this page. Take care.